Hi guys, welcome to our initial review of Deadpool. Amazing movie. I'm Manny.
I'm Terrence. Spoilers! Just so I said it. Freaking spoilers. Don't say we didn't tell you. Freaking spoilers. We're talking about everything today. I talked about a little. Today we talk about everything. Everything.
So first I want to applaud you. That freaking review that you did was pretty awesome. So good job on my guy here.
I finally got somebody to talk to now.
So it was an amazing movie. $135 million. I think it would hit 150 in the 4-day presidential weekend. Highest for a rated R movie. Beating movies like The Matrix Reloaded, The Hangover 2, I believe, and last year's 50 Shades of Grey. The one that got me the most about it was it actually made $12 million on the Thursday night premiere.
Everybody was like chomping at the bit trying to get to this movie, so of course.
Being a comic book movie, you know, that it was a real gamble to actually make this thing rated R, but given the Deadpool character and the fact of how Ryan Reynolds really wanted to play him in Origins as it was, you know, for him to get that green light to do it, he succeeded. And I think Watchmen, Kick-Ass, we've seen a couple hit and misses there, but overall it was a hit.
It was a great movie.
It was a hit.
It was everything we expected out of it. Now it's the whole wait for the sequel. Well,
before we get to Deadpool 2, let's talk about the pros and cons about the movie in the first place. Now, this is Ryan Reynolds' second time playing Wade Wilson. He originally played it in 2009 in the X-Men Origins movie. Now, that one had a lot of backlash because he plays the Merc with the mouth, yet he was sewed up.
Right.
And he was actually great when in the very beginning because he was Wade Wilson. I mean, that's exactly how he played it. And now we had joked about it before. We were talking about that he goes full Van Wilder on this.
Oh yeah. This is beyond Van Wilder.
I think that he actually goes full Monty, no pun intended, from Waiting. So, but anyway, so let's talk about the pros. Okay, so what did you like about the movie?
What I liked is that they stayed true to the character. I like that it wasn't a soft movie. You can tell why they broke it up the way that they did, and they explained kind of why he was who he was and the importance of characters kind of as they went through. They gave you action up front. It wasn't like, okay, we're dragging Knuckles trying to get to him being Deadpool. They gave you Deadpool first. They told you why he became Deadpool. They gave you some more Deadpool, and then they gave you some more Deadpool. By doing that, it kind of really stressed the importance of Vanessa to Deadpool, as opposed to showing you her in the beginning and have her disappear for a good chunk of the movie, and then all of a sudden she's back at the end. You got to see her important. I like that we got to see X-Men in it, so it tied the universe together, and I like the fight scenes. The fight sines were awesome.
The fight scenes were really good.
I didn't think they were going to be as impressive as they were, because in the trailers they didn't show too much of the actual fighting. So I was like, well, maybe they didn't choreograph it that well. But when he actually got down to fighting with all the enemies in the film, it was like, wow, they really invested. They wanted to make him look really lethal, and that's what they did.
And you know what's funny is that the studio had you know, they were kind of skeptical about the movie as it was, but you know, they greenlit it anyway. But they pulled a lot of money back, and there was actually a few more fight scenes. And there were potential, I guess, maybe a little bit more cameos, possibly.
Yeah.
And then there was a car chase that didn't happen. There was supposed to be a car chase between Deadpool and Ajax, right? Francis.
Yeah, because the test video, it was like we were supposed to see that scene, but they gave us the bridge scene, but a lot of the car chase scene that was in the test video, they didn't give us that. They gave us a little bit of the inside the vehicle fighting, but there was a whole part of the test video where Ajax is supposed to stand out there and shoot at the van and stuff like that, and after he cuts off his head, but there was a interaction that they were supposed to have that didn't quite happen on the bridge. They did it differently, so I'm sure that was part of the scene.
Yeah, I loved it all, you know, from the jump. The opening credits alone were just freaking hilarious. I mean, if you get to watch just the opening credits, and you know, he ain't afraid. Ryan Reynolds ain't afraid to make fun of himself. You know, he has a card of Green Lantern in there. It was so freaking funny.
You know, the Hello Kitty lip balm that was in there.
All that was just freaking hilarious.
Like I said, Sexiest Man magazine.
Yeah, the Sexiest Man magazine. But the credits alone, I mean, it was just it was awesome. It started out just right, and I was fortunate enough to actually be there with the audience, like on the very first show, and the reactions that they were getting from the credits, a lot of laughs and all that stuff. So it started out great. Big improvement from Origins.
Yeah.
No blades coming out of the arms. No
Barakapool.
No beams out of the eyes, and then the biggest one is his no mouth shut. It's a big improvement on Origins. Ryan Reynolds played it to perfection. He was just born to play Deadpool, and if you've seen our Goods show, he's already said, we stated that he has already said he's playing Deadpool for the rest of his life. So
great. Old Pool.
Old Pool, that's right. But overall, you know, the action sequences were great. The comedy was great. The back and forth that him and was it TJ Miller? It was just hilarious. I mean, it was kind of reminiscent of how Rogan and Jonah Hill go back and forth. Just start with Deadpool himself. Okay. The thing that kind of got me there a little bit was just going back and forth. But I got it, and it was like after a while, I was like, okay, it's intricate to the story. It has to happen this way. So you know, it won me over.
I liked it because it gave somebody else a chance to give some comedy to it, because we knew what we were going to get from Ryan Reynolds. And Ryan Reynolds, if we think about Waiting, I don't think Ryan Reynolds was really the star of Waiting, but his character overshadowed a lot of the other characters in Waiting.
Well, I think Justin Long was the main.
Yeah, he was the main character of it, but we remember Ryan Reynolds more than we remember Justin Long from Waiting. So, and I think that if he had not had TJ Miller there, I think he would have just solely overshadowed everybody. But we had TJ Miller to kind of pull a little bit of focus, and it's like, hey, you know what? He's a comedic presence too. And then the little banter back and forth with even with Blind Al.
Is that Michelle Nichols?
I don't know who that is, actually.
It looks like Michelle Nichols from Star Trek. I gotta have to IMDb that.
Yeah.
I should have done that before. I'm sorry, guys.
Morena Baccarin. So just her showing how, you know, how BA she was, and that she could go back and forth when they were doing like who had the worst life. They made sure that everybody could hold their own against Ryan Reynolds. I liked a lot of the banter back and forth, because if not, it would have just been strictly Ryan Reynolds. Yeah.
It was funny when in the beginning when he's got his B. Arthur Golden Girl shirt on.
Yeah, I did see that.
In the comics, Deadpool likes B. Arthur. It's freaking hilarious. I loved it. Got that freaking detail in there.
Okay. So what did you think about Vanessa?
I liked her a lot. I thought, I mean, you hit it right on the head. You know, she actually had the great chemistry with Ryan Reynolds, and you know, she gave a lot of emotion, a lot of depth to the character, and you know, she was awesome. I would have loved to see her a little bit more in an action sequence. Actually,
well, see,
like as far as her fighting, that would have been awesome.
It was rumored that, I mean, Vanessa is Copycat in the comic books, which I mean, she's still his girlfriend, but his girlfriend was in essence was a villain in the X-Force comic book.
You think that goes on to the next?
We thought, everybody rumored that like they were going to show it when she was in that little capsule thing, since that's how, you know, how he evolved into his powers. We thought that we were going to get to see her become Copycat, but it just never panned out. I don't know if they cut that from the thing, or they just decided maybe they were going to hold off to a sequel to do something like that.
Or maybe she was affected, but they just didn't show.
But they made a comment when she was on the ship when she first got there, and she was like, you know, like damsel in distress. I played a lot of things in life, but you know, a damsel is not one of them. And Copycat can imitate powers, so she can mystique you. Like basically, she make herself look like you, but Mystique can't imitate your powers. She can just look like you. What Copycat can do, she can copy you all the way down to a cellular level. So if she copies you, she's basically you.
Wow.
Yeah. So they thought we all thought we were gonna get that with her, but
Deadpool 2 maybe.
But then again, I get it. It's like that'd have been too much to add into this particular movie. And it's like all of a sudden his girlfriend has powers too. But in the comic books, yeah, she did. What other characters did we talk about? We talked about TJ Miller. We talked about Morena Baccarin. We talked about Blind Al, who we don't know the name for.
Let's talk about Ajax.
Ajax. All right.
Let's talk about Ajax. What did you think about Francis?
I like his presence on screen, but he was a little light at how they wrote him. It was basically villain does bad because bad.
You know, he kind of reminded me of was the guy from Blade 2, the head guy, the head Reaper.
Oh,
that's what kind of reminded me of a little bit as far as
without the makeup and the vampire.
Yeah, he kind of resembled like as far as
everything like Blade,
but completely different. Kind of reminded me of him because of his demeanor and how he approached situations and all that stuff. He kind of resembled that a little bit. But yeah, I thought that, you know, he had some ruthlessness in him.
No, I like that. He seemed like a legitimate threat.
Yeah,
it's just that I just think that they could have explained why. And I know you could always reference back to the comic books that, you know, he's been a part of the Weapon X project, and he mentioned that he was a part of it, but didn't explain like why all of a sudden he's in control of it. Why does he continue to work for it? And even when they destroyed the factory, he was still basically still working for the company. And it's just like, oh, hey, we did all these horrible things to you, and more than likely we sold you off to these little small countries so they can wreak havoc and they can shut down freedom fighters and stuff like that. And basically they're gonna sell you a super soldier with mutant abilities. And if he went through the project, did he go through this as well? Why is he not working for the company? They didn't give him a lot of backstory, and they damn sure didn't do anything for Gina Carano's character and explaining why she was there.
Oh, she's one I want to talk about too.
So that was my problem with Ajax, and it kind of tailored on to Angel. But did I think that they were viable threats on screen? Yes. You know, her versus Colossus, him versus Deadpool was awesome. It's just I just think their backstories were weak.
Gina Carano for me was, I think, a little underused in the beginning and in the middle, more or less. I think you know, they bring her out really strong at the end. The covering of the boob.
I was so mad about that. I'm like, wait, where's our rated R?
But that was funny though.
It was funny, but I wanted to see Gina Carano's boob. Oh my god.
You know, I wish they would have done a little bit more with her. Now she did survive this, so who knows if, you know, she comes back. And
I know it was Colossus that picked her up, because obviously he's not gonna let anybody die. But it was really, because they made a point to show you that he saved her, and I was like, what is he gonna do with her? What is she gonna do? Is she gonna appear?
Well, I don't know.
In any other future X movies?
I'm not as big of a comic you know, aficionado as you are. So you tell me, what does Angel Dust? Where does Angel Dust fit in on this?
I am not that familiar with her character, so I was looking for this movie to give me a little bit more backstory about her. I knew who Ajax is, and I was like, I'm not a big Deadpool person, so I mean, I can tell you about other characters, and I know enough of his backstory and some of his story arcs. I knew who all the villains were. I just don't know enough about him to say where did they continue on afterwards. With Deadpool, his villains aren't really like out there and carry over for like years and years. He just gets into these wild scenarios. His whole thing is that how can he but make the scenario so much crazier and outlandish when you throw him into a Spider-Man comic book, when you throw him into the X-Men and like, oh, Wade's here now, it's going to be completely off the wall. Or you throw him in with Wolverine and he's either getting in with Wolverine because, you know, he's trying to collect the bounty on Wolverine, or he's fighting alongside Wolverine in regards to something, another villain or something like that. So it's not something like he has like ongoing villains.
It's kind of hard to say on where it's gonna go towards. I know that at the end in the post-credit scene there is a you know, he does mention that it's Cable that's gonna be in the next one.
Well, there was a thing with him and Cable at the very early in the origins of Deadpool. There was some back and forth with him and Cable and the New Mutants, and then going into X-Force and things of that sort. But that was kind of brief in the whole history of Deadpool, and then they become frenemies, where him and Cable have the same relationship as him and Wolverine, where like, I'll work with you one day, but I really can't stand you.
So you bring up X-Men, and what did you think about Colossus' role? Now this is a different Colossus, and you mentioned that Deadpool takes place after Apocalypse. So how do you feel about, like, as far as seeing Colossus in Days of Future Past, and you saw him in X2? As far as differentiating those two, how do you like this one as opposed to the other ones?
I'm gonna make a mention because me and Marcellus talked about it a little bit. Marcellus, if you're watching this, I'm gonna bring up one of your points. Understanding there was budget constraints, so in some places the CGI looked a little off.
I agree.
It looked a little off, but 100% better. In the original X-Men films, we got the size of Colossus that we're used to. In the comic book, he was always huge. I mean, he was overbearing with his size. And when they did in the original Bryan Singer X-Men films, he was really, really shiny and chrome and stuff like that. And he's just supposed to be steel-like. So they gave us, they gave you
steel-like on this one for sure.
Yeah, they gave you more of a steel look on him. Like I said, I wish they had a higher budget, and it was one of the things we applaud them for, having a low budget and doing such great work with it. But if they had a higher budget, they could have spent a little bit more. They could have done a little bit better with Colossus, especially when we got to some of the fight scenes, because some of the fight scenes, that's where it really showed. In the original comic books, he even though he is so big and opposing, he's really a soft-natured person, and they showed that in this. So it's like that's something they never showed in the original X-Men. It was basically, hey, Colossus, come on, let's go fight, and that was it. And the dude just got up, you know, and he armored up and went and fought. And it was like they never really focused on who he was as a person. So I like this Colossus better.
Another one that comes out is Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Negasonic Teenage Warhead.
Now she's played by Brianna Hildebrand, and the chemistry that her and Ryan Reynolds was really good. Now she plays a great straight man because she is just
played
stoned.
Angry teen.
Yeah, she played angry teen. But yeah, the chemistry that they had, it was awesome, man. Ryan Reynolds goes off and she takes it pretty good. But yeah, I was impressed. And that was her very first movie. It was a film debut.
That was cool. They changed her up a little bit from the comic books. I think she's more of a telepath. They made her name mean something more than what it actually was. I mean, it was just a cool name. It was like a 90s name to have. So now they actually gave it a little bit more meaning with her having more of that explosive telekinetic power.
Well, that was actually one of the reasons why they put her in this in the first place, strictly by her name.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I think there was going to be a different X-Men in there, and they decided on her because just strictly on her name. That's freaking hilarious.
I think we ran through all the characters.
Yeah,
right?
So one of the things about Deadpool that differentiates itself from everything else is breaking of the fourth wall. Now, it's usually done, you know, in comedies and stuff like that, but it was done in a comic book movie, and it actually played pretty good. It was actually all right. It didn't really interrupt the story too much. Obviously, it's a comic book movie. Obviously, there's X-Men in it.
Right.
Owned by Fox. Deadpool 2, X-Force, X-Men. How will it affect? How will being in those movies affect Deadpool as far as breaking the fourth wall?
I think he can still do it.
I don't think you can do that in an X-Men movie.
I think you can. It's just that in the comic books, when he would break the fourth wall, when he was around the X-Men, he'd break the fourth wall. They handled it in the movie the exact same way they handled it in the comic books. And it was like, Deadpool, who are you talking to? And he was like, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to them.
Who's them?
That's exactly how they handle it in the comic books. And then they just move forward. It's not even addressed again. He breaks the fourth wall. Somebody will like, what are you talking about? And then he'll, no, I'm talking to the audience, or I'm talking to the writer, or I'm talking to, you know, the person reading his comic book right there. And then the characters would just move on.
and in certain scenes, there's actually references to the actors that play.
You know, it's like
the role. I'm taking you to the professor. Which one, McAvoy or Stewart? I get confused with all these timelines.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Now it was awesome, but when you're in the actual, if you know the characters that are in the movie, I'm curious to see how that's going to affect if he does appear in those future X-Men movies. Another thing about it now, it's no big secret that one of the biggest reasons why this thing is rated R is because of the language.
Okay.
And it is freaking harsh language. Okay. It's funny as hell, but it is very harsh. Now in X-Men First Class, Hugh Jackman in his freaking awesome cameo said F off to Magneto and to Xavier.
Best cameo ever.
Best cameo ever. Now, so an F-bomb is there, but in Deadpool's case, he takes it to another level with the F-bombs and with all sorts of stuff. So how will that affect the language affect Ryan Reynolds if he goes into that universe?
I think they will handle it easily the way they can handle it. One, the F-bomb, Deadpool's going to use it. And I bet you it'll be something like where, okay, everybody knows for a PG-13 film we're going to get one F-bomb. I bet you he uses it like the minute he comes on screen, it's just like he says it and they're like, you know, Deadpool, blah, blah. And then he starts to go off again and then it's just boop, boop, boop. And then he stops and references fourth wall like, really, PG-13? And then he'll just stop doing it.
That would be hilarious. That would be hilarious.
And that's how he'll break the fourth wall, and that's how they'll deal with his mouth.
I freaking love it.
Like he'll stop, and then like later on in the film, he'll bring it. He'll have a moment, and it'll beep, and it'll like, come on, you owe me this one.
But overall, you know, I thought it was great. What did you think about the action sequence?
The action scenes I really loved. The only thing that was a little off once the budgetary things is that he did this little I'll call it Blade 2 jumping, where he was jumping off the car and it was like, oh, it's him, and then oh, it's a CGI character. Oh, it's him, and oh, it's a CGI character. And it's like the jumping, like he was doing these super long jumps and kind of floaty with the jumps. It's one of those things you give it a pass because you know the budget was so low with it. But if it had been like, oh, we spent $150 million on it and that was the CGI we got, we'd all be like, you know, ready to riot, like, oh my god, they really screwed it up and blah blah. So but yeah, there's that. But other than that, the Ajax fight scene with him at the end, the whole bridge scene when he takes down Francis.
That was so
when he
freaking
takes him down, and it took you a minute because they didn't really explain Ajax's powers. That was the best part of the movie.
He home alones it.
And then when he basically stakes him to the bridge, and you don't understand why he's not reacting to it.
One of the freaking awesome things for me for this movie is the soundtrack. And if now in one of the shows that we had before, actually last week or so, DMX was hurt, you know. Well, I'm pretty sure that he's feeling a hell of a lot better today because X Gon' Give It To You
Man,
was the best freaking song for that movie when all three, when the X-Men were together. It was just awesome. I hated that he forgot his freaking bag.
Well,
was it that bad? The budget that bad that he
exactly
they had to lessen the gunfight.
People were saying that, or that's what was coming out. They were saying the reason why we didn't get that gunfight, the reason why they wrote that in there with the bag thing, is because they couldn't pay for another gunfight scene like that. So they had to figure out something to take it out.
That means Deadpool 2 is going to be out there. Even worse. It's going to be all over.
But leaving the bag in the cab was the greatest thing ever because we got to go back to the cabbie and seeing what happened with Bantu
in the trunk, yeah,
with Bantu in the trunk. So that was awesome.
But the music though, the music was, I mean, you know, you had X Gonna Give It To You. You had Shoop.
I forgot about Shoop.
You had
Shoop, and because that song debuted is what they're saying. That song debuted when when
Deadpool started.
Yeah, when he appeared in New Mutants.
Ah, okay. Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's why they did that song.
And that's another thing that I liked about it too was they didn't go strictly straight up origin story. You know, they actually, you know, kind of like how Spider-Man had the first in Spider-Man, they had the first costume, and then he made it, and then he's Spider-Man.
It's the same crap we give Spider-Man. It's like, hey, this kid in high school all of a sudden knows how to make this whole great, amazing Spider-Man suit, and we've never seen him have any arts and crafts talent, period.
Very good point. Very good point. Another song that I thought was so funny to have was Juice Newton's "Angel of the Morning."
Oh,
and there's a slow motion scene in it. It is just so freaking funny. And the expressions of his face.
Well, they CGI'd that.
But the expression of his face, that was pretty freaking cool. How they it's like a comic. Like they gave
because he wears the mask all the time. So that's the one thing that most actors don't like doing these type of films because they're under a mask and people can't see their face. And when you're acting, part of your acting is coming through in your facial expressions, and under mask you can't really do that. So
that's why they did it that way.
To really show his facial expressions, and that way we get to keep the mask and we don't have to cheese out. And it was like, oh, he has his mask off 90% of the freaking movie, and he put it on just to appease us to say, oh, he wore the mask. So yeah, I love that like you got to saw every bit, and like you said with the Home Alone moment, greatest part of the movie, that whole lead up into his fight with Colossus.
It was awesome. I know, it was awesome. Okay, so awesome movie. Go see this movie. It is freaking hilarious, and it's a little something for everybody. It really is. And all I gotta say is that Ryan Reynolds deserved the success that he got this weekend from all of the marketing he did and everything that he went through to get this movie made. Hats off to you at Band City. You're freaking awesome.
Great movie. I've seen it twice, trying to figure out when I want to wait a little bit so that way I can see the third time, so that way the jokes are fresh to me again. Because the second time I watched it, I was ready to already start repeating the jokes. So I'm going to give it a minute. But no, I think we covered a lot. I mean, we can go into more detail. I guess that's all we got. So like we always say at the end of all these videos, make sure you you go to our YouTube channel and you like and subscribe and comment. Guys, we want to know what you guys are thinking, how you feel about the videos that we make,
the
movie itself. What did you think about the movie? What did you like best? And if I messed up any of the backstory with it, let me know too, because I try to do as much research as I possibly could. Yeah, so like, comment, subscribe. If you're a new Facebook friend, please, send me a message. I'll gladly interact with you guys. And if you leave me a comment, address it directly to us and we will respond. So, definitely look for that. But always subscribe so that way you can get any new videos that we come out with. And we're going to try to be more diligent with the reviews. So I think I want to try to make sure we capture all the horror films that are coming out for reviews. So look on that. But obviously we're going to do the big movies. I'm Terrence.
I'm Manny.
And that was the goods.
See you next time.
Hi guys, today's movie that you don't hate